Hi, everybody out in YouTube land. Um, what's good today? What's good today is radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is the only. Okay, so what does that mean? That means radically accepting that I understand the finder. I don't blame Forrest Fenn for any of my frustration. This is not on Forrest. This is not. Um, um, my frustration and anguish come from the not knowing the answers to the big puzzle. Oh, it's and so it's like, okay, so what is the reality of that? The reality is, okay, so I can sit here and get all mad and boo-hoo about it and get angry and that does nothing. So if you can't beat them, can't beat it out of them. You don't, there's, so what can you do? Okay, so what I can do is examine the evidence that we already have and figure out the location without without the finder. you know? Fine, fine. I will just continue and find this location on my own based on the evidence which has been provided. Oh man. It's a better thought pattern than staying in anguish until the real information comes out. And it doesn't matter. I understand. I would, the responsibility of the finder is great. It is really open Pandora's box, and it is like, oh man. And I did think about that when I was working on the puzzle too, thinking, oh my God, what if I do crack this and get it? That's such a huge, it's taking away, it took away and a lot of people's reason. I mean, their motivation, their hope, their dream, all of a sudden it's gone. And that's a big responsibility to have pulled the plug on so many dreams, I understand and I feel my heart goes out, that's a burden. But anyway, so it's not that. It's just the natural instinct of the mind to need resolution, to need the conclusion, to need the solve, and it's not necessarily, I don't need the solve. I don't need anyone to hold my hand and walk me through the poem. I want what I think would help settle my brain would be the actual state. Rule out 3 states and put it in the state it was found in, because you know what? I promise my imagination has got it from there. Because I can figure out a location in any state using my imagination and the clues that I think I see, But anyway, in the meantime, let's go to the video now. So what do you do? What do we got? What are we working with? So first of all, the first thing that came to mind is, of course, Eric Sloan. Eric Sloan. Because Eric's Reverence from Wood, he describes pine cones and the dealio with them. But what I've learned from Eric is how pine can be classed and identified by the number of needles in a cluster and their length. And then he has the sketches in the book, and the sketches are about 1/2 actual size. But you know what? I wonder if this book is printed to scale accordingly. Because this is a soft, I don't have the hardcover. I want the hardcover Reverence for Wood book. It's at my library, and the library's closed. Anyway, okay, so anyway, what did what did Eric teach us about so for a part of our evidence, what we have is the picture of the ground surrounding the chest. Let's see. And oops, rats. I pulled it too far. Not much. We only have a sliver. But what we have, and okay, another thing too. So we have things available to us to help us identify. We have the coins, and so we can get the perspective size. So I look to see what size a gold coin is, and it's 32.7 millimeters. So so we could actually do this to scale. You know, we could find 30, a little bit bigger, about right there. So this is about the actual size of the coin. So then if we go down to the bottom, we can see how relatively small the pine cone is. Oh man, this bites. I want that bar to go away. Oh, now I open the pine cone thing. Oh man, now I'm gonna add one to my. Oh, next thing you know, I think I bought one. I think I just bought a pine tree. No, I'm kidding. Oh my god. Okay, so this is the relative picture. I don't know how to make that bar go away. Why don't bar go away? I thought if I just steer the thing away, it will go away. Oh my god. Yep. Okay. So, that's a pretty small pine cone. You know, when you're using it in perspective. But what's important is the color of it and how tight the shape of the pine cone that we can see. We can see we've got at least three here in this scene. One there, and one there. And according to Eric, you can find out how many needles, by the amount of needles on a cluster. So, here's a really good example of one as soon as I can make that thing disappear again. Right here. They're very distinctive because they're the same color, so you could, oops. Oh man, I'm a moron. You guys. Oh my Lord. I'm talking about these. And you can tell that they're 2 per cluster. Clearly, because of the color, you can tell they were the same, they fell together. And the ones around it are different colors, so that's saying that was a 2. So we're dealing with a 2 leaf, or what are they called? Needles. 2 needles, right? Okay. And then now I got to go back to this where I bought a. Oh my god! Next thing you know. But what I really like about this photo right here, this is a photo I found of a lodgepole pine, and it looks a lot like it. In comparison to, look at a pinyon pine. Look at how big. Not necessarily the pine cone itself is not, but the needles or the clusters or the seeds, pods, or I don't know what you call each individual. But that's not what that's, and here's another example. the way they're arranged. Okay, so now let's go back to our evidence. Nope, not pinion. Now I was lurking in the background of K-Pro Cow Pow Wow. Christy and Mike's watching those guys lurking, and they were talking about, or I was looking at the chat at that time and saw, I think it was Sledneck, who said that he knew whatever, lodgepole pine. Put that in my mind by reading the chat. I looked that up. So, well, I think that rules out a pinyon tree or a pinyon pine. But it doesn't mean that it is a lodgepole pine, but it looks more like a lodgepole than it does the other kind. What is the point, Susie? You're killing us here. I know. But just based on this teeny bit of evidence, which is all we're working with, I'm going to say, I'm going to rule out New Mexico for my own, but I don't know. See, I've never been to the northern New Mexico. I don't know if they have other kind of pine trees too, or is the elevation too high where that's the only kind that grow there? Up around even, but is that the same even around the Colorado border? And that like the Toltec Railroad, I don't know how much that rules it out. So I guess chances are it's more north just based on that pine cone, my pine cone analogy. Of course. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I have to have something to think about, you guys. This is, we got to work with what we have, and working with what we have means this is what we have. And so I'm going to go from here. Oh, Lord. Well, thanks for watching. It's better than sitting in anger about the whole thing, and frustration is about, and I'm not demanding answers, like demanding like, oh, do you tell me each clue where it was? Blah. No. I think what I would feel good if somebody said, if the finder just let us know the state, that would give a thread where I could pull, or we all could pull and figure out on our own, where the rest is, because it only seems fair. I know. Listen to me pouting and whining and throwing a kid fit. I know. Patience. You have to wait. But tell that to my anxious brain one time. When all of a sudden I, like today I wake up and I'm thinking, ooh, I was thinking about the treasure hunt, like the good old days before it was found. When I started thinking about my real life and it was like, ugh, yuck. And then I could always just like, okay, I'm going to go run to Forrest Fenn in my brain and start thinking of that. And when that was not, when I just flat out realized that that's not an option anymore. It's so horrible and sad. And I know other people feel that way too. So it's like, well, it doesn't have to be. Just because I don't need somebody to tell me the location, I can still figure it out on my own, right? Or we could all still figure this out. And we have more information now than we ever did based on the pine needles and the pine cones. That's pure evidence. And I mean, well, there's a piece of wood there too and grass, but I don't know. It would be very hard to, other than saying that it's pine, I mean, you can't without touching it. But what kind of twig is that? Hey, huh? Is that a pine twig? There's another question. See? Okay, well, this video is long enough. How is it? 15 minutes. Holy cow. Well, if you made it this long, thanks for watching. See you again soon.